Hi everyone. Today's lesson we will be talking about castling. Castling is a special move that you can do one time per game only, and the purpose of it is to protect the king. Now, how castling works is extremely simple. Typically when you make a move in chess you can only move one piece at a time. But in castling you can actually move two pieces at once. Right here, usually a king only can go one square anywhere, right? But in castling, you actually move the king two squares. So what you do is this. 1, 2, move the king over two squares, and then you pull the rook over. And that's it. That's all there is to castling. Okay? Let me put this back. And remember, you can castle on the other side also. As long as there's nothing between the king and the rook, you can castle. 1, 2, pull the rook over. And that's all there is to it. A common question is, can you castle even if there's no pawns? Yes, you can. For example, let me remove the pawns here. Okay. Now, if black wants to castle, it's 1, 2, pull the rook to the other side. Very simple. Or you can do it on the other side. 1, 2, and you pull the rook over. 1, 2, and then you pull the rook over to the other side. Okay. Let me reset the pieces here. Okay. So now, there are some rules of when you can castle and when you can't castle. Okay, if you want to castle, the pieces you want to move must never have moved. Okay, for example, if you want to castle the king and the rook on this side, this king and this rook must never have moved. Okay, for example, if you move the rook and you move it back, you can no longer castle this way anymore. You cannot castle this way. But if the king and the rook here has not moved, you can still castle on this side. So another example would be if your king moves and then you move it back, you can no longer castle either way. You can't castle this way and you can't castle the other way either. Okay? All right. Now the other situation when you cannot castle has to do with king danger. I'm going to put a bishop up on the board here. Okay. So bishop, as you know, moves diagonally. So when it moves diagonally here, it is attacking the king. The king is in danger, which is called check. As you know from my other video, when the king is in check, there's three ways to get out of check: move away, block, and capture. However, castling is not one of the ways you can get out of check. In fact, when your king is in danger, you cannot castle at all. Okay, let's move the bishop to another square here. Let's say we move the bishop to this square here. Now the bishop right now also makes a laser. It's attacking the f1 square. Okay, so now you also know from my other video that when you're castling, when you move the king, you can never ever walk through danger. Okay, so right now the bishop is making a laser attacking f1. Okay, right now your king cannot walk through the laser, which means that your king cannot castle on this side. Okay, however, the king is not in danger and there's nothing attacking these two squares, so you're not walking through danger. So you can go 1, 2, and pull the rook over and castle this way. So if you do that, 1, 2, pull the rook over, you can still castle on this side. Okay, let's put the pieces back. Incidentally, I should mention, when you start out a game, the queen is on this square here. Okay, so when you castle the long way with 3 squares in between, this is called queenside castling. Okay, when you castle this way, it's called queenside castling. When you castle the other way, this way, it's called kingside castling. Okay. All right, let me put a bishop on the other side. For example, if you put a bishop right here, okay, now the bishop is making a laser attacking this square, c1. Okay, so now if you're trying to castle queenside, you take the king, you go 1, 2. Right now, you'd be putting your king into danger, which means you cannot castle queenside here. Okay, but since there's nothing attacking the king, and these two squares are not being attacked at all, you can still castle kingside. So you can go 1, 2, and pull the rook over. 1, 2, and pull the rook over, and you can still castle kingside. Okay? One little tricky situation is, let me give you an example here. Okay, let me remove this pawn off the board. Okay, and let's put a rook right here. Okay, so now the rook is making a laser right here attacking this square. Okay, so the question is, a common question is, can you castle queenside here? And the answer is this: the king is not in danger, it's not being attacked by an opponent's piece. You're not walking through danger. You're not walking through danger here, and you're not walking into danger. Because of this, you can actually castle queenside here. You grab the king, 1, 2, pull the rook over. And you're actually okay. This is totally fine to do that. Okay? And that's all there is about castling. I will see you guys in the next lesson.